Captain Sarah Chen stared at the massive holographic display in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, her jaw tightening as she watched the evacuation footage. Thousands of ships, sleek Zephyrian cruisers, bulky Krathan cargo vessels, elegant Viridian transports, all pulling away from the dying planet below. The sight made her stomach turn. "The decision is final," announced Councillor Vexhai, his serpentine form coiled around the speaking platform. "The Kithara homeworld will be left to its fate. The resources required for evacuation exceed acceptable parameters." Sarah's hands clenched into fists. She'd been representing humanity in the Galactic Council for 3 years, but she'd never witnessed such calculated cruelty. The planet Kithara Prime was dying, its star expanding into a red giant, slowly cooking the world that had been home to the peaceful Kithara for millennia. "Counselor," Sarah stood, her voice cutting through the chamber's artificial atmosphere. "We're talking about 3 million sentient beings. The Kithara have been part of this council for over 2 centuries. They've contributed to our shared knowledge, our arts, our sciences. They have also contributed nothing of military value," interrupted General Morgoth of the Krathan Empire. His massive, chitinous form clicked against the floor as he shifted. "Their pacifist nature makes them a liability. In times of galactic tension, we cannot waste resources on dead weight." A chorus of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Zephyrian representative's crystalline body chimed in harmonious notes of approval. The Viridian delegates' bioluminescent patterns flashed in concurrence. Even the usually neutral Orvani nodded their massive, tentacled heads. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The galaxy had changed over the past decade. The discovery of the aggressive void hunters lurking in dark space had sparked a militarization movement among the major species. Suddenly, every decision was filtered through the lens of military utility and resource conservation. "The Kithara are artists, philosophers, and healers," Sarah pressed on. "They've never asked for military protection because they've never threatened anyone. Their entire culture is built around harmony and, precisely why they're expendable," Vexhai hissed. "The Void Hunters will not be deterred by poetry and meditation. We must prioritize species that can contribute to the coming war effort." Sarah looked around the chamber, searching for any sign of dissent, any flicker of the compassion that had once defined the Galactic Council. She found none. The assembled representatives sat in cold silence, their alien features betraying no emotion beyond calculation. On the display, the Kithara ships were pathetically small compared to the evacuation vessels that had abandoned them. Their technology was centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. They'd focused on art and philosophy instead of military advancement. Now that peaceful nature was being used to justify their death sentence. "What about their children?" Sarah's voice cracked slightly. "The young ones who haven't even had a chance to contribute anything yet? Sentiment is a luxury we cannot afford," General Morgoth rumbled. "The decision stands. All council resources are to be redirected toward fortification efforts." The hologram shifted, showing the Kithara homeworld from orbit. It was beautiful, swirling clouds of pale blue and green, continents covered in cities that looked more like gardens than urban centers. The Kithara had built their civilization to work in harmony with their planet's ecosystems. Now that same world was slowly being stripped away by stellar expansion. Sarah had visited Kithara Prime once, during a cultural exchange program. She remembered walking through their capital city, amazed by the way their buildings seemed to grow from the ground itself. The Kithara she'd met were gentle, curious beings, tall and graceful, with skin that shifted colors with their emotions, and large, expressive eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. She'd attended one of their harmony circles, where hundreds of Kithara would gather to share stories, music, and philosophical insights. Their voices, when raised together, created the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. The memory of it still brought tears to her eyes. "Councillor Chen," Vexhai's voice snapped her back to the present. "Earth's vote on the matter?" Sarah realized that every eye or eye analog in the chamber was focused on her. This was the moment when humanity would show its true colors on the galactic stage. They were one of the newer species in the Council, still proving themselves worthy of membership. A vote against the majority could damage their standing significantly. But as she looked at the Kithara world on the display, she thought about the children she'd seen during her visit. Young Kithara who painted pictures of the stars and dreamed of seeing other worlds. They would die because the galaxy had decided their parents weren't useful enough to save. Earth votes against this measure, Sarah said firmly. We cannot, and will not, abandon an entire civilization to extinction. The chamber erupted in surprised chatter. Several representatives turned to stare at her with what she assumed was disbelief. Humanity was known for being practical, sometimes ruthlessly so. Their vote was unexpected. You understand the implications of this decision? Councillor Vex's tone was dangerous. Humanity risks isolation from the Council's military preparations. When the Void Hunters arrive, you may find yourselves without allies. Sarah met his serpentine gaze without flinching. Then we'll face them knowing we didn't sacrifice innocent lives for the sake of convenience. As she spoke, her mind was already racing ahead to the practical challenges. Earth didn't have the resources for a full evacuation either. Their space fleet was small compared to the galactic powers, but they had something the others had apparently lost: the will to try. The vote concluded with Earth as the sole dissenter. As the other representatives filed out of the chamber, discussing military preparations and resource allocation, Sarah remained behind, studying the holographic display of Kithara Prime. Captain Chen. The voice belonged to Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's scientific attaché to the Council. He approached carefully, his weathered face grave. We don't have the ships for a full-scale evacuation. I know. Sarah didn't take her eyes off the display. But we have to try something. How long do they have? Dr. Webb consulted his tablet, pulling up stellar projections. The star's expansion will make their world uninhabitable within 6 months. Full evacuation, even with our entire fleet, we might save 50,000, maybe 75 if we pack them in like cargo. That's not enough. Sarah's voice was quiet but determined. We need another solution. Like what? We can't change stellar physics, Sarah. That star is going critical whether we like it or not. Sarah finally turned away from the display, her mind churning through possibilities. What if we don't fight the star? What if we work with it? Dr. Webb frowned. I don't follow. The Kithara are pacifists by nature. They don't fight, they adapt. They find harmony even in difficult situations. Sarah began pacing, her excitement growing. What if evacuation isn't the answer? What if the answer is transformation? You're talking about terraforming, Sarah, the resources required. Not terraforming. Something else. Something innovative. She stopped pacing and faced him directly. Get me a comm channel to Admiral Reyes. And start pulling together our best engineers and scientists. We're going to need them. As Dr. Webb hurried away to make the arrangements, Sarah turned back to the holographic display. The other galactic powers had written off the Kithara as a lost cause, but humanity had always excelled at finding solutions when others saw only problems. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived the climate crisis of the early 21st century by developing new agricultural techniques that worked with changing weather patterns instead of fighting them. She thought about the generation ships that had carried the first human colonists to distant stars, vessels that had been called impossible until they weren't. Humanity had a long history of refusing to accept that something couldn't be done. Now it was time to prove that spirit could extend to saving an entire alien civilization. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Admiral Reyes, commanding Earth's small but capable space fleet, immediately began rerouting ships toward Kithara Prime. Dr. Elizabeth Nakamura, head of humanity's stellar engineering program, started analyzing the dying star's progression. Professor James Morrison, an expert in xenobiology, began studying Kithara physiology to understand their specific needs. But perhaps most importantly, Sarah opened a direct communication channel to Kithara Prime itself. The face that appeared on her private screen was hauntingly beautiful. High Philosopher Teshara, the elected leader of the Kithara people. Her skin was a deep blue-green that seemed to glow with inner light, and her large, golden eyes held depths of sadness that made Sarah's heart ache. Captain Chen, Teshara's voice was like music, even filtered through the translation matrix. We have heard of Earth's vote in the Council. We are grateful, though we do not understand why you would risk your standing for our sake. Because it's the right thing to do, Sarah said simply. No one should face extinction alone. Teshara's skin shifted to a lighter, warmer hue. Your words bring comfort to our people, but we also understand the reality of our situation. Our technology is insufficient for mass evacuation, and our world grows less habitable each day. We're working on that, Sarah assured her. But I need to ask, are your people open to unconventional solutions? The Kythara leader's eyes widened slightly. Our entire philosophy is built around adaptation and harmony. We believe in finding balance, even in the most challenging circumstances. What did you have in mind? Sarah leaned forward, her voice intense. I don't know yet, but my species has never been very good at accepting impossible situations. Give us a little time, and maybe we can surprise everyone, including ourselves. As the communication ended, Sarah felt the weight of 3 million lives settling on her shoulders. The other galactic powers had made their choice, prioritizing military strength over moral courage. Now humanity would have to prove that compassion wasn't a weakness, it was their greatest strength. The holographic display still showed Kythara Prime, its beauty unmarred by the stellar crisis slowly consuming it. But Sarah no longer saw a doomed world. She saw a challenge. And humanity had never been one to back down from a challenge. In the depths of space, human ships began their journey toward a dying star, and the people who refused to abandon hope. The galaxy had turned its back on the Kythara, but Earth was just getting started. The real work was about to begin. The bridge of the human vessel, Unity, buzzed with controlled tension as Admiral Maria Reyes watched Kythera Prime grow larger on the main view screen. The planet was even more beautiful than the Council recordings had suggested, but she could see the signs of distress, atmospheric disturbances, as the expanding star's radiation slowly stripped away the protective ozone layers. Ma'am, we're receiving multiple communication requests from the surface, reported Lieutenant Commander Park, the ship's communications officer. They seem excited about our arrival. Admiral Reyes smiled grimly. I imagine they are. We're probably the first non-Kythera ships they've seen since the evacuation fleet left. She turned to her science officer. Dr. Nakamura, what's our timeline looking like? Dr. Elizabeth Nakamura looked up from her console, her expression serious. The stellar expansion is accelerating faster than the Council's projections indicated. We have maybe 4 months before the radiation levels become lethal to Kythara physiology, 5 months before the planet becomes completely uninhabitable, 4 months to save 3 million people with a fleet of 12 ships. Admiral Reyes shook her head. Even if we could pack them in like sardines, we'd need 50 trips minimum. Actually, Admiral. Dr. Nakamura's voice took on an excited edge. I think we might have another option. I've been analyzing the data Captain Chen sent from the Council archives, and I believe the Kythara might be the key to their own salvation. Before Admiral Reyes could ask what she meant, the main screen shifted to show an incoming transmission from the planet's surface. High Philosopher Teshara appeared, her skin now a warm golden color that seemed to pulse with hope. Admiral Reyes, welcome to our world, Teshara said, her musical voice carrying across the bridge. We have prepared landing coordinates for your ships. Our people are eager to assist in whatever way possible. Thank you, High Philosopher. We'll begin shuttling down scientific teams within the hour. Admiral Reyes paused, studying the alien leader's face. I have to ask, are your people maintaining morale? This can't be easy for them. Teshara's skin shifted to deeper, more complex hues, patterns that the translation system indicated represented a mixture of sorrow and determination. Our young ones ask many questions about the sky changes. Our elders sing the old songs of adaptation. We are afraid, yes, but we also trust in the harmony of existence to provide a path forward. Well, we're here to help find that path, Admiral Reyes assured her. Dr. Nakamura believes she may have identified something significant. With your permission, I'd like to bring our teams down to discuss possibilities. 2 hours later, Admiral Reyes stood in what the Kithara called a harmony grove, a circular clearing where massive, crystalline trees created natural amphitheaters. Hundreds of Kithara had gathered, their skin colors shifting in waves that created a mesmerizing display of living light. Dr. Nakamura stood beside a portable holographic projector, displaying complex stellar data that most of the assembled aliens probably couldn't fully understand. But they listened with the intense focus that their species was famous for. The key insight, Dr. Nakamura was explaining, is that your people have evolved something unique bioluminescent abilities that aren't just visual displays. They're actually sophisticated electromagnetic manipulations. Teshara stepped forward, her skin now displaying patterns of curious blue-green spirals. You believe our natural abilities are relevant to our current crisis? More than relevant, they might be the solution. Dr. Nakamura gestured to the hologram, which now showed the planet's magnetosphere. Your world is losing its magnetic field as the star's radiation increases. That's what's allowing the deadly solar particles to reach the surface. A younger Kithara, introduced as Scholar Yentai, moved closer to examine the display. His skin was bright, with excited yellow patterns. Are you suggesting we could somehow strengthen the planetary magnetic field? Not just strengthen it, rebuild it entirely. Dr. Nakamura's excitement was infectious. My preliminary scans suggest that Kithara bioluminescence operates on frequencies that could, theoretically, be synchronized to create massive electromagnetic fields. The assembled crowd began murmuring among themselves, their skin patterns creating a complex light show as they processed this information. Admiral Reyes watched, fascinated by the way the aliens seemed to communicate as much through color as through words. Doctor, called out an elderly Kithara, whose skin displayed deep purple patterns indicating wisdom and age. You speak of theory. But how many of us would need to participate in such an effort? Dr. Nakamura consulted her tablet. Based on my calculations, all of you. Every Kithara on the planet would need to synchronize their electromagnetic output. A wave of silver rippled through the crowd, uncertainty mixed with fear. Admiral Reyes stepped forward, understanding their concern. I know it sounds impossible, she said. But humans specialize in impossible things. We've spent our entire history being told that something couldn't be done, then doing it anyway. She gestured toward the darkening sky. Your star is expanding, whether we like it or not. But that doesn't mean we have to accept defeat. Teshara raised her hand, and the crowd immediately fell silent. Admiral, your words carry the weight of sincerity. But even if such synchronization were possible, how would we achieve it? Our people have never attempted anything on such a scale. That's where human technology comes in, Dr. Nakamura said, bringing up a new hologram showing human neural interface devices. We've developed harmonic synchronization arrays for our own electromagnetic technologies. With some modifications, we might be able to create a planetary network that could coordinate your natural abilities. Scholar Yentai stepped closer to examine the human devices. These would allow us to act as one organism? To synchronize our bioluminescence across the entire world? In theory, yes. Dr. Nakamura's voice was careful. But I need to be honest, we're talking about untested technology being applied to biology we don't fully understand. There could be risks. What kind of risks? Teshara asked. Admiral Reyes and Dr. Nakamura exchanged glances. They'd discussed this on the journey here. The possibilities were sobering. Worst-case scenario, Admiral Reyes said bluntly, the synchronization could fail catastrophically. It might overload your nervous systems or disrupt your natural biorhythms. We could end up killing your people faster than the star would. The crowd fell silent, their skin colors muting to worried grays and deep blues. But then, unexpectedly, Scholar Yentai began to laugh, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Do you hear that? He said, addressing his fellow Kithara. They travel across the galaxy to help us. Propose a solution that could save our world, and then warn us it might not work. His skin brightened to warm gold. This is the most honest offer of aid we have ever received. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Admiral Reyes watched in amazement as the Kithara skin patterns shifted to brighter, more hopeful hues. High philosopher, she said. We need to start immediately if this is going to work. The synchronization arrays will take weeks to manufacture and deploy, and we'll need time to test the theory on a smaller scale first. Teshara nodded, her skin now displaying complex patterns of determination and hope. What do you need from us? Volunteers for the initial tests, Doctor, Nakamura said, and access to your planetary communication networks. We'll need to reach every Kithara settlement simultaneously when we're ready for the full attempt. Over the next several days, Admiral Reyes watched her crews work alongside the Kithara with growing amazement. The aliens' natural curiosity and cooperative spirit made them ideal partners for the rushed technological development. Human engineers found themselves learning as much from Kithara bioluminescent theory as they were teaching about electromagnetic manipulation. Dr. James Morrison, the xenobiologist who had joined the mission, was particularly impressed by what he discovered about Kithara physiology. Admiral, he reported during one of their daily briefings, their bioluminescence isn't just skin deep. Their entire nervous system is integrated with specialized cells that can generate and manipulate electromagnetic fields. It's like they evolved to be living electromagnetic generators. Is that why they're so naturally peaceful? Admiral Reyes asked. Some kind of electromagnetic harmony? Possibly. Their brainwaves naturally synchronize when they're in groups. That's why their harmony circles work so effectively. They're literally thinking together. Doctor, Morrison paused, reviewing his notes. It also explains why they've never developed advanced military technology. Their biology is optimized for cooperation, not conflict. Meanwhile, the first test of the synchronization arrays was producing promising results. A group of 50 Kithara volunteers had successfully linked their bioluminescence to create a small-scale electromagnetic field strong enough to deflect solar radiation over a several-kilometer area. But the tests also revealed challenges. The synchronization required intense concentration from the participants, and maintaining the field for more than a few hours left them exhausted. Scaling up to planetary level would require not just technical improvements, but fundamental changes in how the Kithara approach the effort. We need to think about this differently, Doctor, Nakamura told Admiral Reyes as they reviewed the test data. Instead of having everyone concentrate on the same task, we need to create a harmony, different groups, focusing on different aspects of the field generation. Like a symphony, Admiral Reyes mused. Different sections playing different parts, but all contributing to the same piece of music. That metaphor proved to be the breakthrough they needed. The Kithara already understood harmony in musical terms. Their entire culture was built around the concept. When Dr. Nakamura presented the synchronization challenge as a planetary symphony, the alien volunteers immediately grasped the concept. Within days, they had identified natural leaders who could serve as conductors for different regions of the planet. These individuals would coordinate their area's electromagnetic contributions, while the human technology would ensure that all the regional efforts combined into a coherent planetary field. But even as progress accelerated, time was running short. The star's expansion was affecting the planet's weather patterns, creating massive storms that disrupted both human and Kithara operations. Worse, long-range sensors had detected something that made Admiral Reyes's blood run cold. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Park called from his station. We're receiving a transmission from Galactic Council space. It's General Morgath. The main screen flickered to life, showing the massive, chitinous form of the Krathan general. His multifaceted eyes glittered with something that Admiral Reyes couldn't quite identify. Admiral Reyes, General Morgath rumbled, the Council has been monitoring your charitable efforts. We are curious about your progress. General, Admiral Reyes replied carefully. We're doing everything we can to help the Kithara people. Indeed, and we have noticed unusual electromagnetic readings from the planet's surface. These readings suggest technology beyond anything the Kithara should possess. General Morgath leaned forward slightly. You understand our concern about advanced technology falling into the wrong hands during these troubled times. Admiral Reyes felt a chill run down her spine. Are you threatening us, General? Not at all. We are simply observing. The Council reserves the right to investigate any potentially dangerous technologies that might emerge from your humanitarian mission. General Morgath's mandibles clicked together. We hope, for everyone's sake, that your efforts remain purely charitable in nature. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Ma'am, Dr. Nakamura said quietly, if the Council decides our technology is a threat, they'll intervene, Admiral Reyes finished. Which means we have even less time than we thought. She turned to her communications officer. Get me, High Philosopher Teshara. We need to accelerate our timeline. As the stars wheeled overhead, 3 million Cathara prepared for an unprecedented effort to save their world. Human technology and alien biology would combine in ways neither species had imagined possible. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Galactic Council watched with growing interest. The real test was about to begin. The atmosphere in the main Harmony Grove was electric, literally. Admiral Reyes could feel the electromagnetic charges building as thousands of Cathara gathered in perfect synchronization, their skin patterns creating a light show that rivaled the aurora displays of her homeworld. Above them, the dying star blazed with increasing fury, its radiation already making the upper atmosphere glow with dangerous energy. Final systems check, Doctor. Nakamura called out over the communication network that now linked every human ship and every Cathara settlement across the planet. All regional conductors report ready. Synchronization arrays at full power. High Philosopher Teshara stood at the center of the grove, her skin now displaying the most complex pattern Admiral Reyes had ever seen, spirals of gold and silver that seemed to move with their own inner logic. Around her, the other Cathara regional conductors maintained their own intricate displays, each one representing a different aspect of the planetary electromagnetic symphony they were about to attempt. Admiral, Scholar Yentai's voice crackled over the communicator. The children are asking if they will feel different when the harmony begins. How should I answer them? Admiral Reyes smiled despite her tension. Even facing potential extinction, the Cathara's first concern was for their young ones' comfort. Tell them they're about to become part of the most beautiful song ever created, she said. A song that will protect their entire world. The moment of truth was approaching. Through the orbital monitoring stations, Admiral Reyes could see the massive solar flare building on the star's surface, an ejection of radiation that would, within hours, strip away the last of Cathara Prime's natural magnetic protection. If their plan failed, every living thing on the planet would be dead within days. But there was another concern weighing on her mind. Long-range sensors had detected a Galactic Council fleet approaching the system. General Morgath hadn't been bluffing about the Council's interest in their activities. Ma'am, Lieutenant Commander Park reported from the Unity's bridge. The Council fleet has entered the outer system. 12 heavy cruisers, including General Morgath's flagship. They're maintaining distance but monitoring all frequencies. Let them watch, Admiral Reyes said grimly. Maybe they'll learn something about what courage actually looks like. Dr. Nakamura's voice cut through the growing tension. Stellar monitoring shows the flare beginning to accelerate. We need to begin the synchronization now, or we'll miss our window. High Philosopher Teshara raised her arms, and every Cathara in the grove, and simultaneously across the planet, fell silent. The bioluminescent patterns on their skin began to pulse in unison, slowly at first, then building to a steady rhythm that seemed to match the planet's own heartbeat. Admiral Reyes watched the human monitoring equipment with growing amazement. The electromagnetic readings were unlike anything she'd ever seen. 3 million Cathara, linked by human technology but guided by their own natural harmony, were creating a magnetic field that dwarfed anything that had ever been artificially generated. Regional conductors, begin harmonic divergence on my mark, Dr. Nakamura announced. This was the critical moment. Instead of everyone doing exactly the same thing, different regions would begin contributing different frequencies to the overall electromagnetic field. Northern continent, shift to defensive resonance, Teshara called out, her voice carrying the musical authority that made her people's natural leader. Southern regions, maintain core stability. Island chains, provide harmonic bridging. The change was visible even from orbit. The planet's magnetic field, which had been steadily weakening for months, suddenly blazed to life with renewed strength. But it wasn't the chaotic, unstable field of a dying world. It was something new, something that pulsed with conscious intent and purpose. "Admiral," Dr. Nakamura's voice was filled with awe. "The field strength is exceeding all our projections. They're not just rebuilding their magnetosphere, they're creating something stronger than their planet ever had naturally." On the surface, Admiral Reyes could see the immediate effects. The dangerous atmospheric disturbances caused by solar radiation were calming. The aurora displays that had been signs of magnetic field breakdown were transforming into something beautiful, controlled patterns of light that danced across the sky in harmony with the Kithara bioluminescence below. But the real test was about to begin. The solar flare erupted from the star's surface with devastating force, sending a wave of charged particles racing toward the planet at tremendous speed. "Incoming radiation front in 30 seconds, Dr. Morrison reported from his monitoring station. "Energy levels are..." "Admiral, this is going to be the most intense solar storm this system has ever experienced. All human ships, move to minimum safe distance," Admiral Reyes ordered. "Kithara conductors, prepare for maximum harmonization." The wave of radiation struck the planet's new magnetic field like a hammer blow against a shield. For a terrifying moment, the beautiful patterns of Kithara bioluminescence flickered and dimmed as the electromagnetic assault threatened to overwhelm their synchronized effort. But then something remarkable happened. Instead of breaking under the pressure, the magnetic field adapted. The Kithara, guided by their natural instincts for harmony and balance, adjusted their collective output to meet the challenge. The field didn't just deflect the radiation, it channeled it, redirecting the star's fury around the planet in graceful spirals that actually strengthened their protective barrier. "Impossible," Dr. Nakamura whispered. "They're using the solar radiation to power their own magnetic field. The flare isn't weakening their defense, it's making it stronger." From her position in the grove, Admiral Reyes could see the joy spreading across the assembled Kithara. Their skin patterns had shifted to brilliant displays of triumph and relief. Children who had been born under the threat of extinction were seeing their sky return to its natural blue for the first time in their lives. But the moment of celebration was interrupted by an incoming transmission from the Council fleet. General Morgath's image appeared on the communication screen, his multifaceted eyes reflecting a mixture of amazement and calculating interest. "Admiral Reyes, the Council congratulates you on your innovative solution to the Kithara crisis." "Ah, thank you, General," Admiral Reyes replied carefully. "Though I notice the Council fleet is maintaining a rather aggressive formation for a congratulatory visit. We are merely observing the implications of your technological breakthrough." General Morgath's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "A planetary-scale electromagnetic manipulation system represents significant military potential. The Council must consider the security implications." Admiral Reyes felt her temper rising, but before she could respond, High Philosopher Teshara stepped forward, her skin now displaying patterns of serene authority. "General Morgath," Teshara said, her musical voice carrying clearly over the communication link. "You speak of military applications for what you have witnessed today, but you misunderstand the nature of our achievement." The Krathan General's attention focused on the Kithara leader. "Enlighten us, High Philosopher. What you have observed cannot be weaponized because it requires something your council has forgotten: perfect harmony between 3 million conscious beings, all working toward the preservation of life, rather than its destruction." Teshara's patterns shifted to deeper, more complex hues. "Our electromagnetic field exists only because every Kithara on this world chooses, moment by moment, to participate in its creation. The instant we chose conflict over harmony, the field would collapse. You're saying this defense system requires cooperation?" General Morgath's tone suggested he found the concept almost incomprehensible. Scholar Yentai moved to stand beside his leader, his own skin bright with passionate conviction. "More than cooperation, General. It requires love. Love for our world. Love for our children. Love for the future we're building together. Can your weapons create that?" The communication channel fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Reyes realized that the Kithara had just demonstrated something that the galaxy's militaristic powers couldn't understand: true strength that came not from the ability to destroy, but from the will to protect and preserve. Furthermore, Teshara continued, our human friends have shown us that such harmony can extend across species. Their technology made our salvation possible, but only because they chose compassion over calculation. They gained nothing by helping us except the knowledge that they had prevented genocide. Admiral Reyes watched the Council fleet's formation on her tactical display. The ships were beginning to withdraw to a more respectful distance. Apparently, the demonstration of planetary defense had been less intimidating than the demonstration of interspecies cooperation. General, Admiral Reyes said, if the Council is truly concerned about galactic security, perhaps it should consider what the Cathara and humanity have achieved here today. We've proven that cooperation and innovation can solve problems that military force cannot touch. General Morgath's image flickered as he considered his response. The Council will evaluate the implications of your success, but understand, Admiral, the galaxy remains a dangerous place. The Void Hunters still lurk in dark space, and when they come, harmony may not be enough to stop them. Maybe, Admiral Reyes conceded. But maybe the galaxy's best defense isn't bigger weapons, it's remembering why we want to defend it in the first place. The transmission ended, leaving the Cathara and humans to contemplate what they had accomplished. The immediate crisis was over. The planet's new magnetic field would protect it from stellar radiation for millennia to come. But perhaps more importantly, they had demonstrated a new model for galactic cooperation. Over the following days, as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Reyes was amazed by the changes she witnessed. The Cathara, who had always been peaceful, now seemed to glow with a new sense of purpose. They had saved their world, but they had also proven that their philosophy of harmony could achieve things that traditional power could not. Admiral, High Philosopher Teshara said during their farewell ceremony, our people wish to formally request membership in the human sphere of influence. We have learned that true strength comes from choosing to protect others, even when it costs us greatly. Admiral Reyes felt tears in her eyes. High Philosopher, we would be honored by your friendship. But you don't need to join anyone's sphere of influence. You've proven that your own values are more powerful than any military alliance. Scholar Yuntai stepped forward, his skin bright with excitement. Actually, Admiral, we were hoping for something more. Collaborative. We've been discussing the possibility of creating a new kind of galactic alliance, one based on cooperation rather than military dominance. A harmony of worlds, Teshara added, where each species contributes their unique strengths to the common good, where conflicts are resolved through understanding rather than force. The concept was ambitious to the point of being revolutionary, but as Admiral Reyes looked around at the Cathara gathering aliens who had faced extinction with grace and who had turned their salvation into an opportunity to help others, she realized that maybe the galaxy was ready for revolution. We'll need to start small, she said thoughtfully. Prove that the concept works on a limited scale before we try to change the entire galactic order. Small beginnings can grow into great harmonies, Teshara replied, her skin patterns displaying optimism and determination. Every symphony begins with a single note. As the human ships departed Cathara Prime, Admiral Reyes looked back at the planet one last time. The world below glowed with bioluminescent patterns, visible even from orbit 3 million Cathara, maintaining their planetary defense not through force or fear, but through shared love for their home and their future. The galaxy had written them off as expendable, but humanity had chosen to see their potential instead. In return, the Cathara had shown humanity what true strength looked like, the power to preserve rather than destroy, to create rather than conquer. The Galactic Council's evacuation ships had carried away billions of tons of resources and technology, but humanity and the Cathara had created something far more valuable, proof that courage, compassion, and cooperation could achieve miracles. As the stars wheeled around them, the seeds of a new kind of galactic civilization had been planted. The other species might still cling to their weapons and their cold calculations, but now there was an alternative, a harmony of worlds, where every voice mattered and every life had value. The Void Hunters might still be coming, but they would find a galaxy very different from the one they expected, a galaxy where strength meant protecting others, where power meant lifting others up, and where the greatest weapons were understanding and hope. Humanity had stayed when others walked away, and in doing so, they had changed everything.